But I really would like to set this all in context, and to do that, you're going to have to take out your Bibles and put on your thinking cap, as they say, and go to Genesis chapter 28. It's on page 27 in your pew Bibles. Genesis chapter 28, verse 10. Genesis chapter 28, verse 10. It was read to you, but let me recap it for you. Jacob left Beersheba, which is all in the Holy Land, and set out for Haran. He reached a certain place. This is page 27. He reached a certain place. When he reached a certain place, he stopped for the night because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones there, he put it under his head and lay down to sleep, and he had a dream. Now, I need to fill in the background behind why Jacob would be leaving Beersheba on his way to Haran anyway. And I need to tell you that Jacob comes from one of the most dysfunctional families in the Bible. His family, and I'll describe in just a moment, makes Ozzy Osbourne's family look like the Huxtables, okay? It is a very, very peculiar family. Here's what happened. Rebecca's pregnant. She's pregnant with fraternal twins. And the first one that come out has got a lot of hair on him, so they name him Esau or Hairy. All right? And the second one to come out has no hair. He's smooth. They can name him Jacob or Slick. Okay, so you got Hairy and Slick. And these two boys fight all their grown-up life. Harry's got an outdoor personality. He's out there killing things and bringing them home for supper, and he's making things work, building, making stew and things like that. And Slick, Jacob, is a mama's boy. He spends his days in the kitchen with her. And this huge fracture begins in the family to the point where Isaac, the father, is now ill. He's breathing his last breath. And Slick dresses up as Harry and comes up to Isaac, and Isaac thinks it's Slick, but it smells like Harry, and says, "Is this Harry, Esau, or Slick, Jacob?" Smells like Harry, sounds like Slick. And Jacob is able to sneak the blessing of the father onto him. So Esau is left without the inheritance, without the blessing. While it was Esau's because he was born first, even though they were twins, Jacob supplanted him. Jacob was slick to get in front of him and get the blessing. Esau comes home from hunting and realizes he's been duped, and he is furious. He's on a rampage. The mother Rebecca says to Jacob, "Slick, you better go. You better run. Run to my brother Laban." Because Esau is consoling himself with the thought of killing you. See what I mean by the Ozzy Osbourne family? And so that's where Jacob is. He runs. He's on a run. Doesn't have anything. In fact, all he has is a staff. He shows it later, but he also has some vessel of oil. We find out later. He's on the run. And I just want to stop for a moment and say this is not an unusual scenario in the Bible. A lot of people look at the characters in the Bible and they say, well, these people are saints. You name churches after them. You name whole towns and villages after them. These people are godly, they're holy, but that means you haven't read the Bible. If you really get to know the characters in the Bible, particularly this family, you realize there isn't a whole lot of upstandingness going on here. And yet these are people that God has used and that God will use. Jacob is broken, he's humbled, he's afraid, he's alone, he's at the bottom. He's created one act of family treason after another, and yet God still is able to use him to bring blessing. It's one of those times where you stop and you think and you look and you say, wait a minute. That's so much like my experience. I thought to be a Christian leader, I thought I would have to have all my act together. I thought to be useful to God, I would have to have everything perfect in my life. But in fact, just the opposite is true. The more broken I am, the more open I am to God's hope and healing in my life, the more powerful God can use me. That's what Paul said to the Christians in Corinth. He said to them, look, don't get too high-minded about being who you are because I know you. Some of you were prostitutes. Some of you were swindlers or homosexuals or drunkards or adulterers. Don't get so proud of yourself. God came in and he changed you, 1 Corinthians 6. Such were some of you, but God changed you. That's the miracle that I see in the Bible. That God uses normal people, people like I'm looking at right now. And he uses them to carry in them, a dream. I got Time magazine a couple days ago, the 100 most influential people in the world. And I'm guessing none of them are here this morning. Just a guess. Is Oprah here? Is Oprah here this morning? Steve Jobs, is he in the room? In the room? Ted Turner, did Ted Turner make it? Sarah Palin, did she make it? No. God uses everybody. Normal people. You know what that means? You know why that's such good news? Because it means that there's nothing you can do to sideline yourself. You're still in the game. I have a lot of people that come into this church, and they're very honest with me. They say, well, you know, I come to this church and I see these people and they look so perfect. I'm kind of intimidated by the way this congregation looks sometimes. They're kind of perfect. They're like they got it all together. I said, keep looking. Okay. I know this group. I know that there's the things that go on in all of our lives that we're not so proud of all the time, but God still uses us, doesn't he? About 15 years ago, when our younger kids were still in school, I was driving a carpool, and a couple of kids were new to the carpool, and we were on our way down into Dallas, and I don't know, there were 6, 7, 8 kids. We had a few minutes, so I decided to swing into a bagel shop and get everybody a bagel or a donut to kind of hype them up for school. And so I go in and I get the bagels, and this kid that I don't know at all, doesn't know me, comes in with me, and just, you know, a little 6, 7-year-old, and he's looking up at me, and he sees me going to the counter and ordering the bagels and paying for them. And on the way back out to the car, he says, Mr. Roseberry, are you a preacher? And I said, well, yes, I am. How in heaven's name did you know? And I was thinking, is there something about me that just sort of glows? Is there something, sort of, you know, some aura that I have that he could pick up? And so I said, how do you know? I mean, I ordered something from the counter, I got it. And he said to me, well, Mr. Roseberry, our preacher's bald too. So I was kind of wondering. You get the point? You get the point, don't you? Jacob, you cannot demand perfection from the people in the Bible. You really can't. Because the whole story of the Bible tells us it's not how cool and important and wonderful and with it and together Jacob is. The point of the whole story is how cool and wonderful and with it and how together God is. That he would be able to use somebody who had nothing even to put his head on to rest except a rock. And so he has a dream. That's the next thing we see in the passage, verse 12. He had a dream in which he saw a stairway to heaven. And it's not the stairway to heaven that you're thinking of. It's the original stairway to heaven, a ladder to heaven.
To make a monetary gift that supports the ministries of Christ Church Plano, visit christchurchplano.org.